is broken for the parents here in Uvalde. It's never thought something like this would happen in a small town and friendly as Uvalde.
Grieving families and unanswered questions. 19 children and 2 adults are dead after a mass shooting at an elementary school in Texas.
Yeah, in the wake of that horrific shooting attack, there are now new talks of gun control legislation on Capitol Hill. And this midday, we are learning new details regarding the shooting. The victims, all in the same 4th grade classroom at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde.
Now, this is the deadliest elementary school shooting since the 2012 Sandy Hook massacre in Connecticut. The gunman is believed to have shot his grandmother before going to the elementary school, crashing his vehicle near the school. Law enforcement tried to stop him, but he managed to get inside.
Now, responding officers also faced gunfire from inside that school. At least 1 Border Patrol agent is hurt. Police officers say the suspected gunman also posted a picture of 2 AR-15 style rifles on Instagram just 3 days before the shooting. Multiple agencies are still trying to figure out a motive. Now, for all of you parents out there, we know talking about things like this with your kids can be pretty difficult, but it's important to know that your anxiety can be passed on to your kids.
Here with us now to help parents cope with this difficult topic and help all of us kind of just process this violence is Sarah Harig, therapist and clinical director with Family Services of Roanoke Valley. Sarah, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
You know, when it comes to having these conversations with children, what do parents really need to keep in mind? I mean, how much detail do they go into?
Right. So what you're going to discuss with your children is really largely going to depend upon where your child is developmentally. And so, but for all kids, regardless of age, parents want to reassure their children that they're safe as possible, that schools are generally safe. And I would encourage parents just to present the facts and keep it brief while also opening space for your child or teen to ask questions and express their feelings. They should really be taking the lead for their children, asking what they already know, being as truthful as they can, and answering just using simple sentences and not over talking.
And Sarah, we know research shows that oftentimes parents are more anxious than their kids. Will you explain how this can have unintended impacts on children?
Yeah, absolutely. So, talking about school shootings is obviously going to be more emotional than other discussions parents might have about scary stuff that's in the news. But parents really need to make sure that they're dealing with their own reactions before approaching that conversation with their kids. I don't expect parents to be a robot, but kids do often get scared when they don't know why their parents are upset. And so children just need to know that the adults will keep them as safe as possible, and that children are taking their cues for how to react from their parents. So while it's perfectly okay to express how you feel as a parent, do so within reason. Make sure that the child knows why they're having that reaction. Because what we don't want is for children to be talking their parents down or your child having to reassure you that they're going to be safe when they go to school.
Now, I know with children, different ages, different maturity levels, but how do parents actually kind of weigh how their kids are feeling about this before they decide to kind of bring up this topic?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I think in the age of social media, it's just impossible to really shield your kids from the events that are happening. So it's really important for parents to take an age-based approach to discussing those school shootings, being mindful of how your child's developmental stage affects their understanding. Younger kids tend to think concretely and they understand simple ideas the best. And so, you just really want to be straightforward, short, just a couple sentences. Whereas, teens and tweens are developing their moral beliefs, and so they can delve deeper into those subjects. They're more likely to have their, own opinions. But regardless of age, that child or teen needs an adult to give them correct information and a space to process their feelings.
Yeah, we know children and many of us, we're already stressed, Sarah. There's a lot going on. We have the pandemic going on, and then we hear about instances like this. So how do we maintain a sense of normalcy with everything that's going on right now?
Yeah. So we want to honor everyone's need to heal and to have time to manage stress, and but structure and predictability leads everyone to feel safer. So keeping those family routines and structure is really essential. Parents want to ask questions, make time to discuss this, but also continue to follow their schedule as much as possible and have time to focus on other things. It's also important just to limit access to social media and the news, because that constant exposure to stressors is really unhelpful.
Yeah, of course. You did mention it is a little hard to prevent, with social media, is kind of prevent to talking about it. But are there any dangers to maybe avoiding questions about these shootings?
Absolutely. Yeah. Parents, if they take away anything from this, is you don't want to avoid questions and you don't want silence. Kids developmentally are going to engage in something called magical thinking, and that's basically where they fill in the blanks if you don't. They're going to jump to conclusions and create entire stories if you're silent about it. So we don't want the message of, oh my gosh, this is so scary, adults can't even talk about it. So just making sure, even if right after isn't the right time because you haven't handled your own response to it, or your child is stressed, whatever reason, that you do make time to discuss it soon.
All right. Sarah Harig, therapist and clinical director with Family Services of Roanoke Valley. Very important and very helpful information.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you guys for having me.